We finally have it. Halloween Ends. This is the highly anticipated conclusion to David Gordon Green's trilogy. Even though you can watch it streaming on Peacock, I recommend you check this out in theaters, because horror movies are just better on the big screen. Now, I would have liked this review to come out on Halloween, but I started this teaching thing, and I gotta tell you, this is the busiest job I've ever had. Not that I'm complaining, I love my job. I just want to let you know why I'm talking about Halloween when it's damn near Christmas. Now, before I get into whether or not I liked it, I just want to set the stage. This was a movie I was looking forward to for a very long time. Halloween 2018 was a huge success, and it catapulted the franchise and Michael Myers back into the mainstream, which means a sequel was inevitable. But when they announced 2 sequels, and David Gordon Green would be directing both, my expectations were very high. I thought that Green did a really good job with Halloween 2018, and with a few exceptions, it was a damn near perfect sequel. Michael Myers looked great, the kills were great, the story was great, except for that one part. Now, I originally thought it was a risky move to remove Halloween 2 from canon, but looking back, getting rid of that brother-sister dynamic was exactly what the franchise needed. It took away Michael's motives, which returned the focus to where it all started. Michael Myers is just evil. He doesn't care if you're a sister or a random old lady eating a sandwich. He's gonna kill you with no remorse. So Ends and Kills were supposed to come out in 2020 and 2021 respectively. But thanks to the pandemic, these sequels got pushed back for a year. Which, because of the fact that I'm a Halloween fan, it seems like this would be a terrible thing. But this actually made me even more excited, because that meant more time could be spent developing the plot and making sure everything was perfect before filming. Which is why you could understand that I was disappointed, especially with Ends. Because I was willing to turn a blind eye to a lot of the problems in last year's Halloween Kills.
Evil dies tonight!
Evil dies tonight!
With the hopes that Ends would clean everything up. No, Ends hardly addresses anything. Kills brought back Hawkins, which didn't make a lot of sense at the time, but I was willing to go with it because I was sure he'd do something important. He doesn't do anything important.
I got myself a guitar at the pawn shop, and I've been fiddling around with that thing.
Kills had some incredible flashback scenes, and I was looking forward to maybe having some more. Nope. And speaking of those flashback scenes, that's where we met the Mulaney's, and I thought they would be important. Nope. I mean, that creep cop was a Mulaney, but a lot like Hawkins, he didn't do anything. Kills even made a big deal about Michael wanting to return home and stare out that damn window. Ends didn't seem to get the memo. It just doesn't feel like David Gordon Green made a cohesive narrative that spans 2 movies. He just wrote 2 different movies. Now, before I go on, I want to remind you that if you like my content and you'd like to support me, you can use the link in the description below to buy me a cup of coffee. Because long hours of writing and recording and editing is made so much easier with a cup of caffeine. Or if you'd prefer to support me in the classroom, I've also included a link to my Amazon wishlist. Okay, at this point, I want to give a brief recap of the movie. But before I do, fair warning, there are spoilers. The opening scene follows Corey. He's a babysitter who's so awful at babysitting that he ends up accidentally killing the kid he was hired to babysit. Cut to a few years later, and Corey is finally proven innocent. Only the people of Haddonfield are convinced that he did it on purpose.
You're that psycho babysitter.
He killed that kid, didn't he?
Yep.
So this poor Corey character not only has to live with the guilt of what he did, he's basically the black sheep of the entire town. And then he meets Allison. She sees the good in him, and the 2 of them form a strong bond. Like, really fast. They fall for each other with so much insta-love that I thought I was watching a Disney movie. But you know what? I'll allow it. This Corey guy, after all, he has a lot of baggage, and he deserves a second chance. I mean, after all, it's not like he really is a murderer, until he is. I won't go into much detail here, but Corey finds himself wandering around the sewer systems of Haddonfield when he's attacked by Michael Myers. But instead of killing him, Michael transfers some of his evil into Corey. Or maybe he recognizes some sort of pre-existing evil that's already inside Corey. I'm not sure. Anyway, after this encounter, Corey starts becoming more and more consumed by evil until he himself puts on a mask and starts killing people. And basically, this is the new killer. Because we all know how successful Halloween movies are when they shift the focus away from Michael Myers.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
So to sum up the rest of the movie, Corey goes on a short killing spree until he's eventually killed. Michael eventually comes back for a final showdown with Laurie, and I gotta tell you, this final fight feels like such an afterthought. They put so much time and energy into developing this Corey character that they didn't have a lot of room for the Laurie versus Michael that we've all been waiting for, which is even more evidence that David Gordon Green wrote 2 separate movies. If Corey really was meant to be so important all along, why wasn't he in Kills? They waited until the last movie of a trilogy to introduce such a key character. Either that or they didn't write that character until they finished the first 2 movies. So yes, Halloween Kills and Ends were both letdowns. Ends more so than Kills, because in Kills at least you had Michael Myers. And all this is too bad because the bottom line is I think both of these movies brought up some really good ideas. In Kills we focus on how evil can corrupt an entire town, and in Ends we get a more intimate focus on how evil can corrupt an individual. And I think these are really important themes to establish. You know, Michael's getting old and he can't last forever. So having the evil inside him be contagious and allow it to move from person to person really allows the story to keep going in a natural way. So as a Halloween fan, I think this is the right move. The problem is, in both of these cases, the ideas weren't executed well. The mob from Kills was way too forced and cringy to take seriously. And in Ends, Corey took way too much of the attention away from Michael Myers. So even though I like some of the ideas brought up in both of these movies, I don't see myself watching them very often because they're just annoying. But if you take bits and pieces from each, I think there's actually something good in there. I've spent some time reconstructing my own sequel, which I think can be told in one movie. First of all, we'd have to lose all the flashbacks. As much as I love them, they didn't do anything significant to the story. So for the sake of time, they gotta go. Next, this sequel would need to take place in the future. Either the following Halloween or several years later, I don't care. It just can't take place in 2018. The biggest problem with Halloween Kills was that stupid mob got all worked up in just a few hours. So after Michael escapes and takes out all the firemen, we need to cut to some point in the future. I think having Michael just disappear would leave the people of Haddonfield on edge enough so that when the killing started happening all over again, having that mob get all worked up would make a lot more sense. Now, my version would still have Corey. Basically, everything about him would be the same, except he would never meet Michael or become a killer. I think him being a scapegoat for everyone's fear is enough. He didn't also need to become evil. We already saw how evil can corrupt a person back in 2018. Instead, Corey would be the one who the mob comes after when people start showing up dead. So instead of some random side character, the mob would chase Corey to the top of a building. I think the whole mob mentality theme would hit a lot harder this way.
Now he's turning us into monsters.
And I say we keep the basic ending to Halloween Kills. Karen lures Michael to the mob, but this time, because it's a few years later, Laurie can be there. And after the mob beats him down, it's Laurie who delivers the final blow. And since I want to tease the idea of a sequel, we'd get a voiceover of Laurie talking about how evil never really dies, while we have an overhead shot of the people of Haddonfield watching Michael Myers bleed out on the streets. Would that be a perfect sequel? No, I came up with it. I'm sure it leaves more plot holes and loose ends than anything, but at least it'd be something that I'd be willing to watch.
Evil dies tonight!
Thanks for watching, everyone. My name's Kenny, and until next time, let's not just watch movies. Let's talk about them, too. Talking about Halloween on Christmas. I think I've seen that before.
Too bad about Kenny, huh? Life in a big city.